Hi. Am
Hello.
I supposed to talk? I guess I'm supposed to talk first. The first thing I want to do is say I'm really honored that Jennifer's parents are here, Karen and Gary Lawrence of Louisville, Kentucky. Where are you? Where are you guys?
Oh, how do they know? What did you guys do?
Okay. I just want to say to you guys, good job. And God was having a really good day, the day he made Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes.
No idea what to do with my face when someone says something like that.
I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous, and I'm terrible at this, so I'm actually just going to be reading my questions, which is so embarrassing. But I just wanted to tell you guys that I don't know if I'm the right person to do this interview, because around the time when Joy was inventing her mop, I threw out my ironing board in a fit of misplaced feminism. Or maybe I just didn't want to iron anymore. When my mom found out, she started crying and told me it was the only thing we had inherited from her mother.
Oh, wow.
But I would also like to say that it is a truth universally acknowledged that you two are two of the most talented and original people in an industry that does not seem embarrassed about the endless replication of the mediocre. And I also want to tell David that the shot of the three Irish sisters on the couch looking fierce and the fighter is pretty much a Dowd family portrait. So I am just such a huge fan of both of you. So David, you've always had strong, interesting women characters. Joy is your first major feature centered on a woman. You said, wow, great shoes, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Look at those.
Yeah.
Wow.
Somehow the ironing board came back.
You said you were inspired because Joy Mangano had to become a bit of a gangster to succeed. So we're going to look at our first clip and see that.
I'm in a meeting with our lawyers. What do you think you're doing?
Go home, Joy, and watch the numbers roll in on television. Make 50,000 mops, borrowing and owing every dollar, including your home.
It could have been handled better. I'll let Todd have another shot.
I don't want Todd or anyone else to try it. It should be me.
We don't have regular people. We have celebrities or spokesmodels do the selling. I told you this.
Who showed you the mop? Who sold it to you? Who taught you how to use it? And who convinced you that it was great after you thought it was worthless?
Excuse me, can you give us a second? Come with me.
So Joy was a single mother who invented the self-wringing Miracle Mop in the 90s and rose to be a mogul on QVC. David, you've said you're interested in daring women who make their way in the world against all odds. You mentioned some of your mom's friends or even your mom, and you mentioned Lillian Vernon, who started the first big catalog for household products. I mean, why was a guy looking at that, or what did you find of interest?
Well, I didn't have much choice about my mom. She lived in the same house. And many ventures started at her kitchen table. In the kitchen, she was either trying to get her friend elected mayor of our town, which she did, and she was involved in the League of Women Voters, getting out the vote. And she also tried to, make a book she tried to do things when she couldn't get back in the workplace. And I watched her struggle with that. And she was very formidable. And Lillian Vernon, I like, because Mount Vernon is next to my hometown, Mamaroneck. And she was married to a Latino, which gave me the notion of having Jennifer married to Edgar Ramirez to see this lady speak Spanish to her husband and have the best divorce ever in cinema.
Were there any particular products in there that did you ever order anything from there, or?
I can tell you what I love from Joy. Back in the day, my mom, Lillian Vernon, was like in our house, kind of a cool deal. And Gloria Cooper, Bradley's mother, was our consultant on QVC. She ordered all those things. And last night wore the Audrey Hepburn brooch to the premiere. Bradley himself had the mop in his house because he mopped his house. My job was to clean my floors and vacuum my whole house. We had a sponge mop, but Gloria had the actual other mop, which reaches into corners better, and Bradley took it to Georgetown with him.
Say Miracle Mop, we're not doing the movie anymore.
Miracle Mop, yeah. And to me, I use the toiletry kit that Joy has, that she made, which is like this thing that folds up, and you can take out the compartments. You can put your kids' toys in it too, or crayons. But the point is this. To me, it was not about a lady who just made a thing. It was about somebody who was hidden from herself and went from the age of 10 to the age of 45, and what the magic was when she was 10, and what it meant when she got married, and what it meant when she got divorced. What is the meaning of joy and emotion at each of those stations of life? And what's it mean to become a boss? And what is success really? Because I've watched this one in 5 years go from a kid who walked on our set rather innocently to have to handle an enormous amount of attention and responsibility, and how to handle it gracefully with dignity, and how to handle the ones she loves. And that's a big deal. And Joy has a big heart, and so does she. And so, but it does mean you have to become fierce. I answered 9 questions. You need to let Jennifer Lawrence talk.
Joy is a fairy tale complete with fairy godmother, a punishing stepmother type, and horrible half-sister that makes a point about how the prince is not necessary. David, you said it's half fiction because you had to come up with a soulful journey that was worthy of Jennifer. And I think that that's great in your case because you asked Joy's permission to use her life to create a fable. But I was curious with the issue in general, how much can a writer change a character's life when you're using the real name? Aaron Sorkin ran into some trouble with that on Steve Jobs, and the writers of Spotlight were very vocal about the importance of sticking to their facts. So, I mean, your situation is a different one, but I wondered if you had any thoughts on that issue.
Well, I wanted the license to go into her dreams. I don't know what Joy, we didn't use the last name Mangano because I don't know what Joy's actual nightmares were. I wanted to create a character who was haunted by the loss of her childhood dreams. That's something a filmmaker has to create. Many of the things in the movie are completely true. The most important things are completely true. The fact that there was a gun range next to the metal garage her father ran. The fact that her mother was obsessed with soap operas. These made up the psyche of a 10-year-old girl. The fact that she had the business stripped out of her hands numerous times. As happens, business is gangsterism. People will fight you for it until you learn how to fight back. And she did have to go alone to California and Dallas to have showdowns that I consider worthy of the best Westerns or the best gangster films that I've seen. But I hadn't seen it done with a woman, and I hadn't seen it done with a mother. So that's what I loved about it. That's all true, all that stuff.
Wow. Jennifer, you're in a movie about cleaning up, but you've talked about being sloppy or unafraid of dirt, as you put it. No?
That's her
live
motto.
with dirt. I'm not afraid to get my body dirty.
Yeah.
But
I just wondered if you guys had any.
I'm glad we're straightening that up.
I wondered if you guys had any odd couple relationship where one was a neat Nick and one was not, or.
Well, David and I don't live together. He always has more stuff than me. He always has his food bag, random vitamins.
I'm a bag person.
Yeah, he's got a lot of bags.
I like a lot of bags.
Oh, but every time I get sick, he always sends me an egg parmesan, or what's it called?
Eggplant
Parmesan sandwich, which I never particularly said, oh, I love eggplant Parmesan sandwiches. But every time I'm sick, I always get one with flowers. So sweet.
Don't you eat a little bit of it?
I do.
Yeah.
Every time.
Jennifer, do you ever shop from the television shopping channels?
No, I tried to when I was watching Joy. She was selling some product, and I was like, oh my God, I need that. And then I called and realized that I had recorded all of the episodes and it wasn't live.
What was it? Do you remember?
It was this thing that I don't need so hard. I don't need it at all. It's a tent where you can put your clothes and dry them without a dryer. I'm an owner of a washer and a dryer. But she just is such a good seller that he won it so badly. So I was like, I'll be able to give that to somebody. I know somebody in a dorm.
I have a red stained glass pheasant lamp that I ordered one night after having a glass of wine, and I can't figure out anyone to give it to.
Oh, I have her hangers.
If you
Her
want it.
hangers are. I spent
hangers.
most of a segment on Bravo today selling her hangers, the thin velvet ones. I won't say it now because you should just watch the segment on Bravo, and you'll get those hangers.
And don't you have her inventing more stuff for you guys now? If you think of things you need, will you have her invent that?
We have a lot of
By
ideas.
accident.
Yeah. We got to keep those.
An invention that you came up with, you put it in the hands of an inventor for free. That's
No,
what
no,
you did.
no, no. But we did it publicly, so we can get the rights back.
So, Jennifer, what kind of mop do you use?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't mopped my house since the first Hunger Games came out.
Here's,
wouldn't either.
Here's Jennifer's true answer is that she said her blessing was that she had an
I have an obsessive I have a mother with OCD. So she would give us all sorts of chores, and you need to do this, and you got to do that, and you'd listen to it and be like, oh my God. But she couldn't live with it not being done, and nothing ever got done well enough or fast enough. So I knew that if I just kept watching TV for 5 more minutes, she was gonna do it. So I got a lot of orders in the morning, but by the afternoon, you were doing them. You don't think you have OCD, you think everyone else is messy.
Mom, if you want to come up anytime, let me
she'll
know.
I think she does want to come.
No, don't.
Yeah, and David, I don't know if you're really the neat one because the Hollywood Reporter described what was in your canvas tote bag.
That's the bag I'm talking about.
Yeah, DVDs of Orson Welles' The Magnificent Ambersons and Stanley Kramer's Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, a paperback called The Art of Living, the Classical Manual on Virtue, Happiness, and Effectiveness from the writings of Epictetus.
Epictetus, the great
I was
Greek
gonna mess
philosopher.
that up.
Epictetus.
A half-finished bottle of raw, unpasteurized, gluten-free kosher creation juice,
Oh yeah.
and many bags of organic food and vitamins that Jennifer sometimes steals. So Epictetus. So David and I were scrambling backstage to get you guys an Epictetus quote, and here's the one he picked, which is applicable to their work together. No great thing is created suddenly. Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. So Epictetus?
I love Epictetus. I'm not trying to pronounce it. Maybe somebody here can tell us. You guys are a New York Times audience. I'm ashamed of you. Okay,
Yeah.
so, and I
It's
thought,
appendicitis.
that's his name, that's right. That's the correct pronunciation. If you take any of the films I've made, it wasn't like I was sitting around saying, gee, I have to make a movie about a boxer. Gee, I have to make a movie about, someone who is secretly has a restraining order from his wife and needs to, has a strange dance to dance with this girl. I have to make a movie about Abscam. I wanted to make a movie about the people. See, so first of all, we have a cinema that's been based in very specific characters and humans who are very specific, like the ones that inspired me through cinema. And it's been able to reach a wide audience without a lot of violence and without a lot of special effects. And that's a very narrow landing strip. And it's due to the heart and soul of the performers and the stories. And I need to find love and inspiration in the stories, but it's found from the fertile soil of the terrible flaws and heartbreaks. And I don't think beauty exists without ugliness. I don't think the sublime exists without the ordinary. And that's at the heart of our stories. So for me, there's something very ordinary about this woman. But that's what I found extremely beautiful about it. Because if you dig into it and go under the surface, to create a business is a brutal, relentless challenge. And to love your family through thick and thin, those who have helped you get there and those who have betrayed you, is to me worthy of The Godfather. So that's, they're all very specific characters. And so to me, the Epictetus quote you just read is what this picture and actually the last 4 are really about. Anyway, shut everybody up. That's the end of that.
No,
One
well, I
person
mean,
clapped.
this is why you're so rare and valuable, because most successful male directors in Hollywood would rather do movies about lightsabers and dinosaurs than mops and those long claws to get down cans of soup from my
Yes,
shelf.
you are. Jennifer said she's my gangster, and that is
No, I
true.
said I'm your dinosaur.
She's my dinosaur.
Yeah, so you're drawn to salt of the earth stories about how the sublime is achieved from the ugly, and you're interested, as New York Magazine put it, in horrible cancerous family units that somehow stay together.
That's not how I would ever put it.
You've said you like to tell the stories of people's souls and how those souls are comprised of all the people we love.
That's true, yeah. I think you are rooted in where you came from and who you love. And that's to me the basis of all the filmmaking, is that. That's who you begin with. That's where your groundedness with humanity and life is. And this woman, and I have to relate to it personally, and this woman begins in a home that I can relate to. Her father loves her as best he can, and that's Robert De Niro, the great Robert De Niro, playing a very complicated character who, without him and his girlfriend that he met on a 900 number dating service, which is true, we wouldn't be sitting here today. Okay, so he met that girlfriend, and she financed the whole thing. She was the banker that lady had to go through if she wanted to quit her job behind the customer service desk at Eastern Airlines. And this all pertains to me to the ordinary in a movie like It's a Wonderful Life, which has a noir movie in the middle of it. People think it's just a candy movie. There's a noir movie in the middle of that movie where Jimmy Stewart loses his shit in front of his family. And it's all based on the truth of how his own family has let him down and how his own life has conspired against him. That's what everybody goes through. So many people go through that. And I find it inspiring when I find somebody who fights their way out of that and is the only one who would have done it. So I believe her character is made up of that father, her quiet little mother with the soap operas, which allowed us to cast Susan Lucci. She'd be watching General Hospital and say, you must come over and watch this episode of General Hospital, and we cast those two people. And that's part of that little girl's soul. Some people lose the magic and the music of their childhood, never to hear it again. They get caught up in adult concerns, work, families, and they never hear that music again. To me, the beauty is when someone can recall it and bring it back, and even if they have to become a grown-up. See, a grown-up demands that you become very fierce. And I feel that Jennifer has always had in her a 10-year-old and a 50-year-old. And that's part of the mystery of her. And that's why I loved, like in Giant, the George Stevens film, you saw James Dean, Elizabeth Taylor, and Rock Hudson, I think, give the performances of their lives. They're all 24 years old. They played from 20 to 60. So I believe Jennifer is made of the same material those guys are made out of. So for us, it was a privilege to do the story.
Yeah, you had a great quote where you said the magic of Jennifer is that her soul merges with the soul of the character and becomes a third thing that creates an effect that is deeply charming and enchanting and alive and unexpected.
You don't know what's going to happen when she acts, but it's going to be alive. And when I go to a movie, I want it to enchant me and transport me and make me want to watch it again in any 20-minute segment. That's what I aspire to do. And you can only get that when there's a chemical reaction between the film and the actors that is unnameable.
I love the fact that you use the word enchanting, and you talk about the magic of movies, because sometimes I think that Hollywood might have lost that forever. Or do you think we're just in a fallow period and they're going to recapture it?
I do believe there's always enchantment floating around in many movies out there. I do know there's also an awful lot of dark movies which, have their place as well. I believe enchantment, like in fairy tales, like in the Brothers Grimm, comes out of the darkness. And this film, I would never describe her family as cancerous. I would describe them as human and flawed. And I would say without them, she would have never become who she was. It was not like they were unnecessary. Just like I don't think Jennifer would be sitting here today, if her parents hadn't been the people they were. If Robert De Niro's parents had not been artists who broke up, and he was raised as a little boy in the village who would see his father ride by on a bicycle rarely and say hello to him, he would never grow up to be Raging Bull, to have this unnameable, unattainable quality. And it's the brokenness that makes us the beauty of life. And it's a paradox of humanity, I think. I think and hope I answered your question. I find snow enchanting. We have snow through the movie because I love snow. And I think, and I always want to do a movie in the snow. It's narrated by the great Diane Ladd, who has an amazing voice. And this woman also had in her life a great matriarch who was her grandmother. More than her mother, it was her grandmother. That's the truth of Joy. And that's who Diane Ladd was to us on the set, and that's who Diane Ladd was to this character. If you have one person who believes in you, even if they're quiet, it can have a great impact. This is the first time Jennifer's done, I think, a performance that is quietly powerful. In our last two pictures, we've done things that were very Baroque and loud and fantastic and spectacular, and I'm sure we'll do those again. This, to me, is spectacular in a different way. She's carrying her power quietly inside. She had to be the one at the center of the film with all the people around her taking pieces out of her and living in their world, in their spaces. She's speaking to the men across their desks. And to me, it's very moving that by the end, they're talking to her across her desk, in her space. And the second half of the movie has a completely different energy because of that. It takes on that space. These are all the reasons that I thought the movie was worth making.
What did you said today she's the unanxious?
The unanxious presence in the room.
And that's what Michael Corleone is too.
Yes, when we sat with Joy, I think you should tell the story, please, because I'm talking way too much and you're the pretty actress and you should do it.
Well, thank you. When we first met Joy, and we met her family, who are wonderful, and her father, almost as soon as he sat down, said, when I invented the mop, I said, when I started inventing, and David and I kind of did this, and like looked at each other, and we both looked over at Joy, and she just looked at him and nodded, and flattened out, like rubbed her hands on her knees, and just looked and nodded, and it was the most powerful thing I've ever seen because it was so patient, so deeply patient, and she just let him talk and didn't argue and we were really affected by that. That really affected a huge part of how we went about Joy, was seeing her personality, because I've said this character's almost contradictory when he's pitching it to me, when the new ideas are coming through, when you're writing. You know, she's a mother of, Joy was a mother of 3, I play a mother of 2, works at Eastern Airlines, she's given up everything for her family, so you think that that character would be very meek, a person would be very quiet, that person could get, maybe they could get pushed over easily, maybe they aren't. And then you see a person who started a multi-million-dollar company, this matriarch, and then you think that's a badass. And meeting Joy and seeing her personality and how she carries herself and how she has this quiet power filled in the blanks for me as an actor. And that's not even why I met her. I just wanted to meet her. I wasn't planning on imitating anyone, and I don't feel like I did, but I just wanted to meet her because obviously when I started hearing their conversations that they would have and reading their transcribed conversations, she's such an amazing woman, has such an incredible life. I just wanted to meet her. And I had no idea that I would leave going, that is exactly how I want to be and carry myself in the movie.
Well, you know, I went to see it with my sister, who came up from Washington tonight because she too is a huge fan of yours. And I leaned over to her at least 5 times during the movie, and I said, I would not be speaking to that family anymore. And so she is able, and I think it's inspirational of how to deal with my own family, because you've just got to stick with it and get through it and take the good out of it.
I think that's the highest power that you can really have, is a forgiving power. And that's the true acknowledgement of power, because you don't need to fight or argue or even say anything. And that was a kind of power we hadn't done in our previous pictures. So that was cool to me, and that was exciting to me.
David, at lunch today too, you said that in addition to strong women characters, it's important to you to try for more diversities in the movies and more Latinos and blacks, because you have a child of color.
Yes. I have to make movies that are going to look like my son, my younger son, and I found when I had a son who had some mood issues and learning disorders, I would go to schools and say, well, how dare there not be more kids? They don't accommodate more kids here with these issues. I would never have thought that before. If you have a son of color, you say, well, how dare they not have more kids or teachers of color here? And when you make a picture about a woman at the center of it, you feel the same thing. How dare they not have more movies where the woman is the gangster and the men are powerful and confident enough to stand behind her without a hitch to their egos, but with dignity. So that's exciting to me also, and I think that's just going to explode in cinema now. I think that's the whole culture is poised for that.
Really?
That's what I think, because I think if you look at Inarritu, you know, you look at so many filmmakers. I mean, you look at Straight Outta Compton. I mean, I just think that this country is going to be more and more of color, and that's the future. And I think that when I went back to my college, I was given an honorary degree by my college, and when I went back, it was so truly more diverse and coeducational. The women were truly the equals of the guys there, that I was blown away by that. So I do see this happening.
But Hollywood always seems so surprised. They seem so surprised that Straight Outta Compton, you know, won the weekend or whatever. Why can't they just accept that people have a wider appetite than they give them credit for?
I think Hollywood would be happy to make money any which way you told them.
Yeah.
You know? So if you said, just do it like this, they'll go, absolutely. I don't think they're fighting it. I think they're trying to figure it out.
Jennifer, you've worked with a lot of amazing actors, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Because Hollywood does have, sorry, I waited
That's
too
okay.
long.
She caught up.
No.
She caught
I have
up.
something to, sorry. I'm
Her brain
moving
caught up.
so slowly.
No, that's
I'm sorry, but he's right what he's saying about studios. It doesn't have to do with there's, when these movies come out and they start making more money, all that happens to the studios is they learn, oh, we can make money that way. There was a huge idea for the longest time, and this is the reason why there were so many male heroes in movies, is because studios' mentality, and this is what they would tell new executives coming in, is that girls can relate to a male hero in a
Right.
movie, but boys can't relate to a female hero in a movie.
Right.
So there was never a female lead. It was always a male lead, and that has been up until very, very, very recent, until some movies started coming out with females and started making money, and then they were like, oh, well, girls can do this too.
Right.
Yeah, we get periods once a month, but we can still.
It is
And
true.
now and now more movies are coming, but yeah.
Sorry, Maria. I don't want to cut you off.
You didn't cut me.
Okay, good. So because I went into, I thought Emma Frost, is that her name? She's like a Marvel hero, Emma Frost, am I right? Right? Very cool. She started she came out of a school for girls. I read about her about 10 years ago. I thought she's really cool. You know, she has this academy for girls who become these superheroes. I thought it was really cool. And I was speaking to Quentin Tarantino last night, and he told me after he made Grindhouse.
Name dropper. Sorry.
He's my friend. We were talking about how when you have a moment of vulnerability, which he had after Grindhouse, he was saying to me he was happy for my story that I had lived a journey where I had sort of lost my way, which can happen to anybody in any avenue of life, and how honest I've been about that. And then you're lucky if you can find your way again. It can happen to a columnist. You have your beacon, and then suddenly you got to find a new beacon. And I had a few years where I was like, "Where's my beacon as a filmmaker?" And I found it in these stories of these people that I find inspiring and badass at the same time. So I said, "But you also had that, Quentin, where you've refound yourself." He said, "How do you mean?" I said, "After Grindhouse, right?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I saw after Grindhouse, which was this weird sort of beautiful art venture, ode to those pulp movies. I saw you pick up, I use the gun as a metaphor, and it's a metaphor in our movie. It's powerful as a metaphor, not actually to shoot people. But I kind of felt like he picked up the gun, put the clip in it, and said, okay, I'm going to do history, I'm going to do the Nazis, I'm going to do revenge, history, porn, and I'm going to do it with a movie star named Brad Pitt." And I said, "You weren't fucking around anymore." And he said, "Exactly." And then I said, "Then you're going to do The Slaves." And he did that. Those are films to be reckoned with. There was a point where I was going with all this, and now I've lost my way. Well, what was the point before this? It was the thing about studios. He said to me when he was in his period of after Grindhouse that they came to him and said, "Well, you know, now will he come do a franchise? He'll come," and that happens to me. If you have a moment, it seems like, well, now you'll do this. So I went into a studio and pitched Emma Frost. Is that her name, Emma Frost? I pitched that. I keep wanting to say Emma Stone, your friend, name dropper.
You can't drop a name for her.
Yeah.
Who's your friend who did that play Cabaret? Who is that?
It's Emma.
Emma who?
Emma Stone.
You name drop her. Okay, so all right, so anyway,
how did I not
so the
see
point
that
is, I went in and I went in and said, let's make money with this. They talked me out of it. This is true 10 years ago. They said Halle Berry had made that woman superhero movie, which had not done well. They said it ain't gonna succeed. They said you can knock yourself out to make a woman superhero movie. It won't succeed, but go ahead. We'll hire you to do it.
You can't compare that. The Catwoman
Slow down,
was terrible.
slow down, buddy.
Not because she was a woman.
Let me get the story out.
Sorry,
So
keep going.
it's all leading to you, which is
Stop. I'm side projecting back to the bracelets cam. But you can keep going.
okay.
It's side comments.
Okay.
I was just.
They talked me out of
They
it.
talked me out of it too. And
They talked me out of it, and I went home and I said I could do it, but it seems like it'd be a thankless task. I said, so I didn't do it. 10 years later, 12 years later, she becomes a major franchise action star in the Hunger Games. So that they were wrong. Right. You know, it just had to be the right story with the right person at the right time. So they were wrong in that way.
Yeah, but they do still seem to think it's an aberration. But you're right, that changed with Frozen and Maleficent and Hunger Games.
Yeah,
That's
and it'll
when they
continue to change,
were
'cause it's not
able to
real, it's
prove,
not true.
Yeah, that little boys wanted to go see gorgeous, you know,
Well, thank
heroines.
you.
Why wouldn't they?
There was a 10-year-old the other night who met her, and he met her and he didn't quite know who he was.
Yeah, he didn't care.
And then for a moment, he was in his basketball clothes, and then he goes,
No, you
I
said it.
said, just as she's the star of Hunger Games. And he goes, you're Jennifer Lawrence? And she goes, yeah. And the little kid's feet, he went, well, right? It was so awesome. This like 10-year-old boy was just like, you just saw him completely melting into some inner volcanic happiness.
God, and it's so weird seeing
yeah.
kids these days. They go straight into, and then he was immediately like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And like whips his phone out. I was like, "Oh my God!" I mean, fine, sure, great, like it's fine. It was just weird, like that age, the difference. You know what I mean?
You mean that they want to take a picture right away?
Yeah, just like the pictures and fonts. Like you should see the light that dies behind people's eyes. When I'm like, if I'm at the airport and I don't have makeup on, like I'm not taking a picture with you. I don't want a picture of me right now. And so I'm like, no, I'll sign something. And then the light just like, no, I just wanted a picture. And I'm like, fuck you. I would have been so like, if I think about me being a kid, like if I met like Britney Spears or something, and she was like, I'll sign something for you, I would have been like, you will? Like I wouldn't have been like, no, it doesn't only exist if it's on Instagram. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going off too.
Yeah, no, that's a great insight. You've worked with a lot of amazing actors, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Donald Sutherland, and Robert De Niro. So
Bradley Cooper, Edgar Ramirez.
yeah, I was talking to
Christian Bale.
What does
Amy
it
Adams.
feel like to steal a movie from Robert De Niro? Is that like a French art heist or something?
Oh, that wasn't. No, that I didn't. No.
I think you said that at lunch today, right?
I won't be quoted to Mr. De Niro as having said that.
Yeah.
Never said that.
He said it today on Charlie Rose. I said to Robert today, I said, what are your feelings about Jennifer, Robert? And he said, well, when she came into the Silver Linings Playbook and she came into that scene and she kind of ran that scene, he said it was magical. And he doesn't give that, and so I think he understands what we're talking about. Yeah.
But Jennifer, can you learn anything from them? You said acting with De Niro was like driving an Aston Martin, or is your acting style so naturalistic that it's more life lessons you could learn? You said De Niro urged you to stand up for yourself, not let the producers stick you in the Days Inn.
Let's stick me in the what?
In the Days Inn or something.
Yeah, I mean, I try to learn everything. I mean, I'm working with a living legend, but I also feel like acting specifically is such a unique thing that you can watch somebody do something and that might not be, you know, like Daniel Day-Lewis's Method, and he's an unbelievable actor, and that gives performances I couldn't dream of giving, but it won't help me to stay in character all day. You know, it wouldn't do anything. So I don't know, everything's so unique. Also, Bob's so quiet that even if he was doing something, we wouldn't know about it. He's the softest speaking person I've ever met. He always makes me look like an old person. What? But yeah, I mean, I try to learn as much as I can, but it's mostly, life stuff, because acting's so individual. And also, he's not pulling me aside going, when I'm doing a scene, I do this, So I don't know. What was the question?
Robert is no nonsense and unpretentious, and he just will go right to the heart of the matter. If it's about what the actor's going to have, it's meticulous. It's all in the details of who the people are, and he will ask you specifically if you think his person would do this or this, and that's what makes him an artist.
Mm-hmm. David, I wondered if you could tell the audience about when you guys first met. You were at a awards luncheon, I think, and you saw her, and you said you didn't. I guess you met her, but I don't think you could foretell the amazing chemistry that would ensue. You were saying something like, she had on a white dress and heels and big hair and
looked like a Malibu mom, or not mommer, but like a Malibu, not mom.
That's just better. Whispered to you to not say Orange County.
Yes, I have Orange
County.
County.
And to say Malibu.
Yeah, he said Orange County.
Because Orange County made me sound like a mom, and then you said Malibu, and then still said mom.
Let me put it to you this way.
I don't care how you put it anymore.
She did, and that's how we met. So more importantly, I want to know what it was like.
When I met you?
No. No, I mean, I think these stories have been told, but she was 20 years old barely, and she couldn't really walk in the heels, and I didn't, and someone said, that's Jennifer Lawrence, and I said, that's Jennifer Lawrence, the girl who ate the squirrel in the woods in Winter's Bone, and that's the girl who ate the squirrel in the woods and hunted the squirrel. And then I remember leaving her in my rearview mirror as I pulled away. She was waiting at the valet with Darren Aronofsky, and then I didn't see her again until she came on at the 11th hour to audition on Skype, and had put on the eye makeup in Gary's office, in your house in Louisville, and found it in the middle of the audition. There was a giant spider, in the bathroom, and I watched her go through this whole ordeal of killing the spider in the background. And then she came back and did the scene and made me cry, and it was all so unpretentious and natural and instinctive that I thought it was special. And Harvey said she's too young to play this role, and I brought the computer to Harvey's office. He said, just send it to me. I said, no, I want to show it to you in person. And I opened it up, and within 30 seconds of looking at this audition from Gary's office in Louisville, Harvey Weinstein said, oh my God.
I went into your office, because it was like Skyping, you were like a boss. I didn't feel like I knew you. I remember going into your office, and I had just gotten off of Hunger Games and X-Men and all of these movies where they're like, lose weight, and I'm like, I can't. and then you were like, I know these actresses and diets. You started talking, and I was like, oh my God, he's gonna tell me to lose weight. And you're like, I want you to look real, man. I want you to eat, be a woman. And I was like, I can do that. And then I went through. I Heard Huckabees, and it was my favorite movie in the entire world. It makes me laugh randomly, like when I'm thinking about it. I just think it's so funny. And I went through the entire movie against your will. You didn't want to hear about it. You didn't want to talk about it. And I started at the beginning. I remember I did the Naomi Watts, come down to Huckabees, and the whole thing. And then I told you about freezing your jeans to keep them clean, and you went, that's disgusting.
What does that mean, freeze my jeans?
Because every time you clean your jeans, you ruin them.
Well, I don't have any jeans.
Yeah, I know, but I do. And then every time you wash them, they get destroyed. So I heard that if you put them in the freezer, you don't have to wash them, and you just chewing on salt and vinegar chips, which are disgusting.
No, I don't think jeans are disgusting. I don't think freezing them is disgusting.
Well, you said that to me, and then I said you're eating salt and vinegar chips. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I read somewhere that you only have the same, like identical 5 J. Crew black suits, but here you are in gray. So
yeah, I get. Sometimes my better half puts me in something different. And my first reaction to it is, no, I can't do that. And then I wear it on set, and somebody like Jennifer says, hey, that's good. And I go, okay. And then it's part of the thing. Jennifer, I didn't know you had sang in another movie before you sang in our movie. You didn't speak Spanish in another movie, did you?
No.
Okay. So what did you sing in before our movie?
Hunger Games.
And what did you sing in that movie, Hunger Games?
I don't remember. I blacked the whole thing out. It's like nursery rhyme things.
Was it long?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Mockingjay song.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I liked it, but then what was it like for you to sing with Edgar in our picture? Remember?
You remember what I was like?
No,
It wasn't good.
No, but when you no, here's what happened. She didn't want to sing because she didn't like it. She was afraid about it. But when we started the snow coming down on the stage, because it was a play,
beautiful scene.
and then you felt it immediately. So you gave yourself.
But I didn't have to sing. I could lip sync.
But then you later had to sing.
I later had to sing.
Yeah, it sounds like
I
you.
made you pay for that.
Jennifer, you're in the cover of Vogue with a absolutely stunning picture. And
Well, thanks.
the part of the interview that made the biggest news was when you said that you'd been spending a lot of time alone since you broke up with Chris Martin. And you said, quote, dating is tricky at this point. No one ever asked me out. I am lonely every Saturday night. And
Don't say that in the press.
No, well, this is a problem with press. It's like when you're talking and you're like hanging out with somebody and talking, you don't hear. It's very different when it's written. I'm not a lonely person. I never feel lonely.
It's okay to be lonely.
No, but I'm not a lonely person. I was talking, I'm like, everybody thinks, like I'm alone every Saturday night. Or like, you say it like that, and then it's on print. It's like, I'm alone every Saturday.
I know, but
I was with you last Saturday. Yeah, what's your point? It's humiliating.
I praise you for saying it because it's real and it's authentic and you're being true to yourself.
It is, but
okay.
it's not a sad thing. It's not
No.
a sad thing to be alone.
Sometimes it is.
I don't feel.
And that's
I think
okay
what I
too.
was trying to
Sometimes
get across, which didn't come across, was I was saying I don't feel a lack of something not being in a relationship. I don't feel like there is a hole to be filled. An emotional void
space. An emotional
to be
space.
filled.
Emotional space. So, but that was also one of the chances we took in this
My
film.
dad's here.
It was one of the chances we took in the film was that there is not a romance at the center of it. There's a romance that, as with many people, you go, as with you did with your last relationship, you enter the romance, it's euphoric, it's joyful, it has a life of its own, and then it ends. And it ended. And my question is, what happens to the joy after
And you
that?
don't go out on Saturday nights because you're sad and you don't want to bring your friends down. But now I'm okay.
yeah, because in the movie, Joy gets great backup from her ex.
Yes.
And
Never doing an interview during a breakup ever again.
yeah, and you noted that in life, it's often the reverse dynamic where men are focused on how to get the upper hand with women. And in Vogue, you said sometimes guys are so mean to me. I know where it's coming from. I know they're trying to establish dominance, but it hurts my feelings. I'm just a girl who wants you to be nice to me. And, it's... Well, it's funny, it sounded so Notting Hill, because it's like you have all these absolutely stunning...
It sounds like sort of Notting Hill. That is Notting Hill.
Yeah.
I'm just a girl standing in front of you.
Yeah. But I mean, I think every guy in the country would love to have a date with you, and probably women in Hollywood
Not now.
would love
Now I sound like a desperate loser.
to meet some gorgeous Hollywood stars, but somehow you can never get together with normal guys, I guess.
There's definitely, we talked about it a little bit at the lunch, and you and I, right before we went on stage, a polarity switch that happens with men and women that, there's the global confusion. Where do women belong right now? What is our place? How do we, and I was explaining to David, I'm 25, I'm successful, but I'm a girl, so I'm still always going to be attracted to somebody who impresses me or does something, you know, because I'm a girl, and then it becomes, I don't know where I'm going with this. I should just
Yes, it's a contradiction. You want that you yourself are powerful, but you want to be with somebody who is also powerful that you can look up to.
Yeah.
But to find someone who can do that, but also respect your power.
Respect and not,
yes,
yeah.
and not be threatened by it.
Not be taken. Yeah,
Yes, that takes a very special thing.
Yeah.
And
So that is why I am alone.
but one of the things I love, Maureen, in the beginning, the picture, which is I thought it was powerful to have a little girl, her character played by Isabella Crevetti, this wonderful little girl actress, hold her little paper creation and hold it up in the air and say, this is a special power. So when you're a child, you know if you have a special power because you can make something. And that will be a special power when you're grown up if you hold on to it, if you remember it. And her sister says, yeah, but you need a prince. You need a handsome prince. She says, no, I don't need a prince. This is a special power. And to me, that's really the truth, the joy the real person has lived. And that, you know, I think that's an okay truth to live. I think that's a good truth to live, you know. Yeah.
Jennifer, you said you have signed up to direct a picture, which is fantastic because women directors are at 1% of the top 100 grossing films and dropping. And it's about, what's it called?
It's Project Delirium. It's about
Project
chemical warfare.
Delirium, a true story that was in the New Yorker about
Yeah.
the military experimenting on soldiers during the Cold War. And you said you've known from a young age that you would like to be a
I
director.
want it to be slightly funny.
Yeah.
A little bit. So,
Yeah, you want to direct
Believe it or
comedy
not,
too. But how
listening
did you
to that
know
description.
what, you know, I interviewed Diablo Cody and she said that she directed once and never wanted to do it again because she thinks that you need a real alpha personality to do it. And what made
no problem there. Lots of other problems. Not
so
that.
you think you would?
I'm not ready. I would love to direct. I do want to direct one day. I am not ready right now. I haven't learned enough. I haven't paid enough attention
Yeah,
to
you're
editing.
studying
I always
a
say I'm
little?
going to go to the editing room and learn. And you know, I leave after like an hour. I don't have the attention span to learn what I need to learn right now. I'm not ready, but I do want to direct one
Yeah,
day.
because you said she's such a creature of now and in the momentness that it would be interesting to see her as in charge of the whole canvas.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, it will be.
And I will.
I know we're going to get to questions in a minute, but I did want to ask you, Jennifer, because you're kind of the canary in the coal mine on privacy. You've been the casualty of 2 horrible internet incidents. And, you know, the first, your photos were hacked, and the second, you know, you learned in Sony about your pay inequity in American Hustle, and you wrote a really excellent essay in Linny, which is Lena Dunham and Jenny Connor's online newsletter, about how women sabotage themselves on money issues and you know, continue to shape their personalities around the desire to please men, while in salary negotiations, men get commended for being fierce and tactical when they negotiate powerful deals. And I know there's been a tiny bit of backlash, but it just seems ridiculous because it's kind of like everyone's going, well, actresses make a lot of money, so they should just stop talking about this and let the inequity ride, which is
It's all relative.
absurd, yeah. And, you know, I just thought your essay made a lot of great points, and you said, I'm over trying to find the adorable way to state my opinion and still be likable. And I just wondered the reaction you got and
Well, it's something I'm still working on. I wish that I could have written it and then fixed the problem, because I was writing about a very real issue that I have, which is trying to take the personal out of business. And I'm still working on it. I really can't. I mean, it's almost embarrassing to write something like that and still find yourself struggling with it, as I know, you know. But it's kind of a personal thing, you know, with movies, especially, you know, when you get involved with directors and you get involved with it's an emotional process, and then business gets involved, and you have to start taking from this person who you've been collaborating with, and it's intimidating, and I struggled with that for a while. Of, maybe they'll get mad at me, maybe they won't like me, maybe they, which seems silly, but it's very real. And so
But I think that's true of women in all professions.
that's why I
just
ended up
thought
writing
that
about
was
it, because
universal.
there's universally there's
Yeah.
there's generally a 21%
Because
pay
to me,
gap
the saddest
between
part,
males and females.
yeah, and the
So-
saddest part of Sheryl Sandberg's book was when she was talking about how women, that men ask for raises 8 times more than women,
Yeah.
and she advised women to smile when they ask for a raise, because maybe that will make the boss like them better. But, it just made me sad. That
Yeah.
It was good,
Yeah,
wise
well, like when I
advice, maybe,
started
but
learning about the pay
pathetic.
gap, I was like, I can't be the only one struggling with this problem. If it's not we're not going to be in the same exact situation, but if mentally you're struggling with the same thing that I'm struggling with, which is it's awkward asking for more money. It's awkward going, that's not enough for me. Especially when you're already getting a lot, but it's a lot, but I'm worth more.
And didn't you say
It's
you
a
were
hard
kind
thing to say.
of infused with the spirit of Katniss?
No, I didn't say that. Again, this is like when you're like talking and, somebody asks you a question. They're like, do you think that playing Katniss, inspired you to write? And then you're just like, yeah, sure. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, she wrote the op-ed because she played Katniss. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, everybody's present is affected by their past. So how can I say how these characters have affected or not affected my personality as of now? I can't. So I can't say I wasn't inspired, but I don't know. I don't know.
All right, I am getting to the questions. I just quickly want to ask Jennifer, unless it was another media screw up, but you said that Donald Trump, if Donald Trump gets elected, it would be the end of the world. So would it be like a Hunger Games kind of America, or?
I don't know. I just can't believe that's actually happening.
Yeah, he went up to 41%
I know.
today. Yeah.
I know.
Okay. And and David has a background in politics and political activism and newspapers and community organizing, so I didn't want to let him go without just asking him what he makes of this crazy 2016 race.
I'm always looking for some of the heroes of my that I look up to, which to me is there's 3 Roosevelts who are my heroes: Theodore, Franklin, and Eleanor. And they were fearless, and they were not afraid to stand up to companies or rich people, even though they were rich people. And I want that, and that's what I'm looking for. So I hope that shows up on a good day for Americans. I'm reminded of the story when George Stevens was the head of the Directors Guild, and Cecil B. DeMille had tried to kick out the directors who had foreign names, like Billy Wilder and William Wyler, and immigrants under the time of the Red Scare. And it was when he did not prevail, George Stevens and John Huston felt it was such a good day for Americans. They were exhilarated because the fearmongers had not won that day. And they came very close to winning. And it was exhilarating. And that's the kind of thing that I get excited about as a American.
And David also did the brilliant movie about the Persian Gulf War, Three Kings. And to me, that's the original sin that we are now dealing with, where any move we make in the Middle East is wrong. Do you look at that movie now and see what's happening in this race, and where Ted Cruz wants to bomb so much it'll make the sand glow, and Trump's ready to send ground forces, and once you flip the Shia and Sunni without much thought about it.
Here's what I'll say,
Okay.
very quickly. I will say that when I made the film Three Kings, it was intriguing to me that we'd had a war and no one had really looked at it real close. And I will say this, I supported the fact that all my Iraqi friends who I met on that war wanted us to create a democracy in Iraq. So when the second George Bush came and wanted to do that, I supported that. Now, I then saw that the first George Bush was right. The first George Bush said, don't do it. It's a quagmire. You'll never get out. It's never ending. It's a 1,000-year cycle. The first George Bush was right. However, I'd go back even farther and say that I think if the first George had never gone into Saudi Arabia and occupied that country with 500,000 troops, we might not have incurred the ire of such specific people, and by being so presumptive to take over their territory. I think without that happening, perhaps other things don't happen. So this whole thing has happened as a result of going there to protect Kuwait, which to me I don't think, can you ask the question, was it really worth it? And all these things have unfolded that are so tragic that it all started from that. Right. And I remember when he first did it, I was at Sundance as a ticket taker. And I was very excited to meet my hero, Gus Van Sant. And I said, are they really going to do it? I hope they don't do it. And I saw the bombs going off in January of '91, and I said, oh, wow, we're really going to war. I don't think it just really ends up working out too good. I just think it just begets more weaponry, more war, and that's all I have to say.
I agree. And finally, I know you're a huge fan of old movies, and I wonder, does Jennifer remind you of any old movie star?
Carole Lombard.
Yes, okay. I was going to say, because Orson Welles loved Carole Lombard, and he said the reason he loved her was because she could not only be beautiful and glamorous and fun, but she could also talk like a waitress in a hash house if she wanted to. And, Jennifer, I see you on late night.
I thought that was going to be a lot more glamorous.
I see you on late night TV, and you can talk about things like phlegm or the flu, and I just
I'm
laugh.
always sick on a press tour.
I just laugh because I think if an MGM press person in the 30s saw that, he would, be racing out of his house.
Never said that to me.
I love the partnerships between great directors such as George Cukor and Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
I love William Wyler and Bette Davis. And it's been my privilege to work with Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, and Preston Sturges and Barbara Stanwyck.
Yeah, Barbara Stanwyck, a mighty, mighty Barbara Stanwyck. So those are formidable women who were very, very womanly and could also knock you out, and in numerous ways. And that's who this person is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think Carole Lombard, definitely. So we have